Good evening again. Kevin Thompson has been confirmed as a member of the Clutha District Council. Mr Thompson had a 2-vote margin over Albert McTainch, whose application for a judicial review of the count was to have been heard today. But Mr McTainch has withdrawn that action, and the original declaration of Mr Thompson as a councillor stands. A public meeting is being held in Queenstown tonight to air fears about growing pollution in Central Otago, especially in lakes and rivers. The meeting comes hard on the heels of concerns raised about refuse disposal, specifically around Cromwell and Clyde. Michael Lynch and Mark Price report.
There's nothing especially nice about the village tip, and when a tip goes under the microscope, all sorts of nasties could emerge. At the 9th hour, the spotlight's being turned on the Cromwell tip, due to go into the waters of Lake Dunstan. American environmental engineer Ted Topolsky, now settled in Queenstown, reckons the tip's a suitable case for treatment, and quickly. He says residues from industry and agriculture are there, and they'll leak into the lake.
They've taken labels off the drums.
Who's taken labels off the drums?
Some of the local people, and which came up with the names of the various chemicals that existed. And I didn't know who they were, but it all referred back to the DOC, the local council people. It's apparently a problem greater than I'm even aware of.
Electrocorp and the regional council are taking notice, even if they don't share Dr Topolsky's worst fears.
Well, we've asked Electrocorp to provide an inventory of material that may be in that tip that is known to the local authority or otherwise, and to present us with a plan for how those tips are to be rehabilitated, covered and sealed, and so that leachate doesn't come out in any significant quantity.
Well, you check with the local authority, they don't seem to have a clue what's in there, really.
I think it's fair to say that a lot of material goes into tips and we don't know what is in there, but I've asked Electrocorp to find out as much as we can.
But dealing with the problem, if it's there, mightn't be that simple.
Well, I would expect that the tip would need to be covered with a sufficient quantity of material so that the seepage that might come out of there is trapped within the overlay. It would have to be fairly fine compacted material.
Oh, it's like putting a plastic cover on top of a bathtub and then pumping the water in from the bottom and then hoping that the water is going to stay in because you have a cover on top when you have a hole in the bottom.
It's been suggested that the whole tip should be dug up and taken away. Is that practical or in fact necessary?
It's possible. I don't believe it to be necessary at the moment, but I'll reserve judgment on that until I've got the information over what sort of materials might be in the tip.
Dr Topolsky will be comforted, though, that legislation now in the books will bring much tighter controls on tips everywhere.
Lawyers for Dunedin bicycle importer Robin Isaac were in court today fighting an order to have 1,200 Chinese-made BMX bicycles recalled. The bicycles have been blamed for 10 accidents, and the Ministry of Commerce wants them recalled and refunds given to the owners because it says they're unsafe. Mr Isaac's lawyers argue the bikes can be brought up to a safe standard and the recall order is unnecessary. Cashmere, mohair, kashgora, they're all fibres which come from goats. For cashmere, try Mongolia or China. For mohair, there's the 4-legged lawnmower out the back. And for kashgora, well, Mark Price went to the high country near Kingston.
There's nothing very complex about a goat, but the same can't be said for the industry it supports. These goats live a simple existence at Flagstaff station south of Kingston. They're valuable for their fibre, which is a mixture of coarse hair and fine down. And here comes part of the industry, a group of European fibre processors, mostly spinners and weavers. They've been brought here to take in the sights, but more importantly, to look at and be impressed by New Zealand's goat fibre industry, which already provides them with some of their raw material. The idea is to sell processors a concept, the concept of kashgora. What is kashgora? Well, the simplest definition we got from the experts in this group was that kashgora is the equivalent of crossbred sheep's wool. It's not therefore in the same league as cashmere at the top end of the market or mohair at the bottom end.
It's a new fibre. It's an exciting fibre. It comes from a hybrid goat, which is produced basically mainly in New Zealand. There's a small production in Australia, not very good production, with all respect to your neighbours. And it has a certain luster. It has a more elegant luster than mohair. It has a soft handle, which is close to the handle of cashmere, and it is stable in price. It comes from a basically stable economy,
What processors are looking for is a clearer distinction between Kashgora and other goat fibres. And that's what serious Kashgora farmers are trying to breed into their flocks.
They need to stabilise some sort of generic breed of animal that can produce Kashgora fibre when it's bred from one year to the next.
And how far away are you from doing that here, for instance?
4 or 5 years.
By getting end users in touch and involved with producers, it's hoped to forge a stable base from which this new industry can expand.
The fire brigade was called out this afternoon to a gas leak in the Dunedin suburb of Mornington. This pipe was ruptured when it was hit by a vehicle. Some gas escaped, but there was no need to evacuate the area. Organisers of the Queen's Baton Relay are astounded to hear the biggest response per capita has been from the tiny North Otago town of Kurow. While the rest of the country has struggled to fill numbers, Kurow Area School has really hit the road in bulk. Ken Nicholson reports.
Organisers had to restart advertising to call upon runners to fill up the relay.
Excitement is mounting for the BP Queen's Baton Relay Run.
And this is the response from Kurow. The problem areas around the country have been in the sparsely populated areas, and long, lonely country roads will not carry the baton on stretches such as the Kaikoura Coast and, more locally, the Alexandra-Balclutha Highway. Quite simply, in less populated areas, the numbers haven't been there to fill up the entries. But not so in Kurow, where 99 runners have far exceeded any similar entry around the country. The Auckland organisers are astounded at the response, but one of the runners, Andrew Gard, sums up the local feeling.
Well, I think it's good because it's good for Kurow because we sort of help the Commonwealth Games a bit.
Right, I want you today to go over to the concrete area over there, begin your stretches, and I'll be over in about 5 minutes and we'll go for a run around the racecourse for our training run. Okay, so if you move over, I'll be there in 2 minutes.
The man behind Kurow's enterprise is local phys ed teacher Grant Hubbard.
They've been quite easy to get into the run, and they're quite fit people up here in Kurow, so they're keen to go ahead and have a run.
And what about the children themselves? Are they enthusiastic?
Very much so. I think the fact they're part of the Commonwealth Games is a big thing.
So, while national organisers are generally happy with the late response around most of the country, the example they use to explain Kiwi enthusiasm for the Games comes from this wee school, Kurow.
And what a really nice place to go running, huh? This, they made me wear it. Good night.